Time for a no huddle here on ITG, episode 13. Wes Uhler with the best teammates in the business, Jed Drenning, the signal caller, and of course the runaway beer truck, Professor Owen Schmitt. I've got the professor with me. I've got Jedgar Allan Poe with me. If you caught our first edition of the ITG no huddle ahead of the Virginia Tech week, you'll know what this is all about, but it's shorter, condensed. We've got Owen, the professor. He's going to read us some literature written by Jedgar, the poet. But before we get to all that, we got to give a big shout out to our friends at GoMart. This episode of ITG is brought to you commercial-free, thanks to our friends at GoMart. We will do some headlines here briefly and some at the 50 before we get to Professor Schmitt. So, gentlemen, the headline here is, according to The Athletic, Arizona State University coaching staff members were leaking information to their opponents in hopes of making Herm Edwards look bad, trying to get him fired, which he was. Gentlemen, this is a crazy story. I'm sure this is going to continue to develop over the next few weeks, few months throughout the course of this regular season. But wow, potentially coaches from Herm Edwards' staff leaking information to their opponents. I don't know if I've ever heard of anything like this.
If true,
yes.
It's one of the more despicable things I've heard in quite some time. I can't even imagine that. The fraternity and brotherhood that exists within a program, within the staff, the interactions between the families, they are your family. I just can't begin to imagine. Now, let's start with this. Herm Edwards lost his job. He's not beyond reproach. I mean, there was all kind of craziness in terms of infractions, and there were some shady things that appear to have been going on there. And as the guy in the head chair, he has to bear some responsibility, but that doesn't mean he deserved something like this to be sabotaged within the house of me by his own staffers. I just can't even imagine what that would be like, Owen, to have staffers reaching out or leaking information about, I don't know what it was, from a personnel standpoint, from a game plan standpoint. Let the investigation take place. I certainly hope that they find out that, they were misled, they were misguided. This didn't in fact happen, because what a black eye. I mean, if this happened, those guys should never coach again. Anybody that was involved should never coach again. And I don't often say that about many things. That's, to me, that's not an overreaction. That's a black eye to so many things. It's a black eye to your staff members, to the players, to the school, to the game. The integrity of the game takes a hit there. If that happened, wow. Owen, thoughts?
Yes, Jed. From my many years as a professor in the small town of what you call it, Mississippi, I know of a brotherhood like a coaching staff. And for any of those to backstab us in the back like they did to Coach Edwards is a disgrace to the game.
He's in character.
If you're watching on YouTube, listen, I know that I usually, I think I plug our YouTube channel once or twice every episode, but this is the week. If you've only been rocking with us in podcast audio form, make sure you're checking this out on YouTube, because Owen he's on the Titanic couch again. He's ready to be painted like one of his French girls. He's got the glasses, he's got the getup, and he is ready to go here. I absolutely love it. We're gonna get to Professor Schmitt reading a children's story about Bevo in just a couple minutes here. The other headline I got for you, Jed, quickly, Dirk Koetter. A little promotion at Boise State after some reshuffling of the coaching staff there for the Broncos as well.
Yeah, after a 2-2 start, their offense hasn't looked all that. So they fired their OC. It's not that often that a school, much less a group of five school like Boise, is going to have Dirk Koetter, a guy, a former NFL head coach, a former Power 5 head coach, on staff as an analyst, to plug and play and put him right in and say, hey, can you fix what ails us offensively? But yeah, he'll be calling the shots and running the offense for the Broncos after their 2-2 start. But that's newsworthy.
Certainly is here. Before we go into the classroom with Professor Schmitt, one last thing here. We'll go to the 50-yard line. Jed, Walk us through. We know the Mountaineers, you as well too, will be heading to Austin this weekend to take on Texas. Great city, great stadium there at DKR. It's one of those places. Sometimes it's not exactly jam-packed, and sometimes it can be a little wine and cheese. But other times, like we saw a couple weeks ago when Alabama came to town there, it can be absolutely electric. I've been there in Austin, and I rented one of those electric scooters, and I drove around the stadium on the outside a few times when I was there a couple years ago. But give us, walk us through the DKR stadium experience down there in Austin.
The whole trip's an experience. We don't stay in Austin as a team. We stay nearby. And part of the experience always starts with the dining experience, because the barbecue is so tremendous in that part of the world. Obviously, it's hard to beat Big 12 barbecue, and it's hard to beat, Texas barbecue. But I'll tell you this: we eat at Salt Lick. This will be our 6th trip since we joined the Big 12. It's hard to imagine that, to Austin, but we eat at Salt Lick Barbecue every trip. That's the only place in the Big 12 circuit that we don't shift up and mix around and move around. That's become a staple for me and Tony and Coach Wallace and the crew. We like it so much that it's the only place out of all the destinations on the circuit, we go to the same spot each time, and that's the Salt Lick Barbecue, open pit barbecue in Round Rock, Texas. A tremendous place. I can even tell you the history of it. The founder, back in the 50s, he was a construction worker. He was traveling the state of Texas, and he wanted to find a way. They just moved to the area, and he wanted to find a way to stay closer to home and always be by his family. So he took out a legal pad, and he wrote down the 54 things that him and his family could do from a business standpoint that he could stay home. Okay. Well, one of the things he could do, he liked to barbecue at family outings, and people loved his barbecue. Well, barbecue was number 14 on his list of 54. So he decided to run with it. But I'll tell you what I wish they'd do. I wish they'd publish that list. That's what would be intriguing, because it's on the stories in the back of the menu. But
if good barbecue was number 14 on the list, I mean, what was 1 through 13?
What were the top 13? Exactly.
Billion-dollar ideas there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's a great place. Open pit barbecue at its best. I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, you want to go with the Thurman's Choice. That includes some brisket, some pork ribs, a little bit of everything, some sausage. But Thurman's the name of the father who founded it. But
Salt Lick Barbecue.
Salt Lick Barbecue. Yeah, there's like 3 of them in the general Austin area, but we go to the one in Round Rock. But when you make your way into the stadium, guys, I mean, there's statues everywhere. There's history everywhere. There's eye candy everywhere you turn, even before you make your way into the visiting locker room. As you can imagine, press row is pretty sweet. The broadcast booth isn't all that bad. So, but I'll tell you what's not terrific, and that's the visitors' locker room. And it's down in the one lower corner in the north end zone. And oftentimes when Mountaineer fans make their way, they're surrounding that tunnel that we come out of, because what happens is you leave that locker room and you climb to get onto the field. You climb a handful of steps, and you find yourself immediately, when you enter the field, you're surrounded by Mountaineer fans hanging over as they're looking at the team. Okay. And this sea of burnt orange, 100,000 burnt orange fans. And there's this enclave of Mountaineer fans over in that corner. Well, as soon as you get onto the field, you're up against the back line of the end zone, and that's where the Texas marching band is. And you make your way across there. You kind of have to dodge them. That's where Big Bertha, the giant drum, and they're pounding on the drum, and you hear it. And you make your way across through them over to the opposite sidelines. That's our sideline. The visitor sideline is the opposite sidelines. And if you make your way on down the opposite sidelines, down in the one corner above it is Godzillatron. That's the giant scoreboard. And I remember back in 2012, Godzillatron flashing when we were in the top 5, when they were number 11. It was a big matchup, a night game 2 for that one, 2 unbeaten teams. Largest crowd in DKR stadium history, 101,851. It was flashing on the Jumbotron. So that was a heck of an environment that night. That's also the same corner of the field where Smokey the Cannon is. There's the crew of like 5 to 7 folks operating that cannon. They fire it after every Texas score. That's another piece of lore there. Now, for those keeping score at home, that's also the same corner of the end zone where Will Greer ran the 2-point conversion in. He did it right in front of Smokey the Cannon and fired that football right at the crowd, right at the stands, the wall of the stands right there. Now, if you make your way over past Smokey the Cannon, behind that end zone, toward the other sideline, that's where Bevo's pen is in the opposite corner of the end zone. Now you see Bevo long before you smell him, I should say, long before you see him. Okay. I mean, you probably smell him 100 yards away, but his pin's over there in the corner. Of course, he's so sedated that he's somewhat disinterested by the time you make your way to this football
He's
game.
on those gummies, as
Yeah,
Professor
he's on
Schmidt
those
might
gummies.
say.
Plenty of gummies. But Bevo is.
I do enjoy a good gummy as well from Bevo.
Good gummy Bevo. So now I'm not often on that side because that's technically the Texas sideline. You're working your way around that corner. But I'll tell you one time I was, and that was back in 2018. They had an injury to a Texas D lineman. And of course, I can't get injury updates unless I go through TV. So I was working my way over there to get the TV sideline reporter to see if she can give me an update so I could do a report on the broadcast. And as I did, I heard the crowd start. I was right in front of Bevo's pen, and I heard the crowd just react and respond and just erupt. And I turned around, and that's when I saw David Sills sprinting towards me from 60 yards away. And that's when he had the long touchdown grab from Will. And so he ended up 10 feet in front of me. I had my phone out taking pictures when he did his famous double horns down in the end zone. That's like 10 feet in front of me. That was right in front of Bevo. So it was almost like the horns down was for Bevo, the double horns down from David Sills. But that's right in that corner. I was over on that side, and I'm not typically there. Now, on our sidelines, here's a little story that I'll work my way toward the finish with this. I came down from doing pregame in the booth, and half hour before kickoff or so, I'm on our sidelines. Now, I see this guy walking up our sidelines, and he has on his shoulders, he has a baby, a little toddler, wearing this just adorable Longhorn outfit. And I thought my wife would love that outfit. That's so cool. It's so cute. So I thought I'm going to get a picture of this baby and text it to my wife. I'm going to ask this guy if I can get a picture. So I go up and he's waving to a friend of his in the crowd. He's making his way. Again, it's our sideline's empty. The kids are on the field for pregame, for warm-ups. So I go over and he's talking to a friend of his, like gesturing to him in the crowd, like he's going to make his way up there. And so I start pecking him on the shoulder. I was going to get his attention and say, hey, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? Well, this guy for 20 yards, I'm pecking him on the shoulder, and I'm like, wow, this guy won't even look. So finally, after 20 yards, I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? He stops dead in his tracks, and he turns around and looks. And I was shocked not once, but twice, because A, it was Matthew McConaughey. I had no idea. It was Matthew McConaughey. And B, that's when he'd lost all that weight to film Dallas Buyers Club. So it was this very emaciated, gaunt version. So it looked kind of freaky of Matthew McConaughey. And he was pale in the face and his jawbone was sticking out. And he's like, can I help you, friend? And I realized I was about to ask Matthew McConaughey for a picture of his child. And I was like, nope, I'm good. You just keep moving along. So that was my Matthew McConaughey encounter. And I remember going to the locker room and telling Dana, and he said, I think he's been at every game I've coached here. So it's almost like you're not truly battle tested as a media member until you have a Matthew McConaughey story working, a DKR. And I remember going back into that locker room after the big win in 2018, Dana crowd surfing the team. Okay. I remember that. And then one of the other things I remember, there's a lot of memories. I remember Kaiser White's hit on Shane Buechele was down on that same end of the field where he just decleated him. We all remember that big hit Kaiser had. And then I remember after that game in 2012, this is when Geno was hotter than Texas chili, as Rick Neuheisel would say. A front runner for the Heisman, big game that night. He was out in the dark corridor by our team buses signing autographs for Texas fans, and you could barely see it. But it's a great venue, great place to experience and take in a football game. I'm excited to be down there again. But with that behind us, now for the good stuff.
All right. It's time for Professor Schmitt. He's been sitting there seductively on his couch for the first 14 minutes. Well, now it is the professor's time to take us into the classroom here. Owen, reading some literature from Jedgar Allan Poe. It's a children's story about the stinky, smelly, sedated Bevo. Professor Schmitt,
the ballad.
Take it away. The stage is yours.
Wesley, Jedgar, thank you for having me. Before every illustrious child story I tell, I like to have a small snack. So I brought over some Welch's grapefruit snack packs.
Man, those are my favorite snacks. Did you
that I had in my son's diaper bag.
Did you bring enough for the whole class, or is that not a rule anymore?
Hey, come on, share, man.
Wow, those look juicy.
He also had a leftover apple juice that I'll savor here for a moment.
I got some apple juice here that I'm drinking as well. Yeah.
There's nothing like snack packs and wetting your whistle with some good old fashioned apple juice.
Just a reminder. Make sure you're watching this on YouTube, people. All right.
From the elongated tongue of one Jedgar Allan Poe. Horns Down, a ballad of one stinky, sweaty, poor Bevo. Poor Bevo was so sad, so sad, so sad all around. Everywhere he turned, he saw Horns Down. From Lubbock to Waco to Fort Worth and the Little Apple, the gestures by opponents was followed by a cackle. From Norman to Lawrence to Stillwater and Ames, the inverted hook'em told Bevo he was lame. Even in the mountains where they sing country roads, Bevo was tormented by the Horns Down episodes. Not fair right now, blow your whistle, Bevo ordered to the Big 12 official. Why so sensitive? Asked the ref with a snicker. In Texas, it appears, even the complaints are bigger.
Takes a sip of apple juice.
Instead of lamenting what's turned upside down, why not to do the same with your pouty puss frown? Bevo huffled and he puffled, not liking that at all. He started whimpering and was ready to brawl. It shows disrespect, and where should I start, he says. It delivers a dagger into my burnt orange heart. Tell those Cyclones and Bears and K-State Wildcats, if they do it again, we'll keep acting like brats. Warn those Sooners and Pokes and West Virginia Mountaineers too. Another Horns Down will cost them 15 yards. It appears Horns Down is offensive, so it's clearly wrong, and complimenting feels weird without somehow still blaming Coach Charlie Strong. So you frogs, you Jayhawks, you Texas Tech Red Raiders, don't be disgracing our proud 40 acres. Keep your hands in your pockets and just play along as we belt out our lyrics to the Work Along the Railroad song. Going to have to wet my whistle after that line. It's a terrible gesture, so see your way out. Yep. Damn it, Jed. It's a terrible gesture, so see it our way. And if you don't believe us, ask Matthew McConaughey.
There you go.
We're easily upset and Horns Down fills us with spite. Don't you dare be thinking it's all right, all right, all right. The end.
Professor, will this be on the quiz next week? Or
Professor,
Absolutely, son.
sure, we've been taking copious notes, Professor. I give
Like a once wise man once told me. That's a wrap.
I provide the professor with a pronunciation key when I send these. This one only had one word in it. McConaughey.
That was good. That was,
Oh,
I tell you what, Professor Schmidt with the incredible delivery, Jedgar Allan Poe. Way in words that only he has. I tell you what, that is just absolutely fantastic.
no, I want an apple
Horns
juice.
Dan. Oh, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. This has
All
been
right.
a special edition of ITG, our No Huddle, episode 13. Thanks again to GoMart. They allow us to do all of this commercial-free for all of you out there. A reminder, this is not our only bit of literature that we'll be publishing as it relates to the Longhorns. Make sure you're keeping in touch with us here, as we will have our full WVU Texas preview episode dropping in the next couple days. Owen just sitting there seductively sipping that apple juice. I mean,
We need a screen grab of that.
I tell you what, Leonardo DiCaprio has nothing on you. I tell
Oh,
you.
come on, you French girl.
I tell you. All
Paint
he
me.
needs,
Draw me holding this apple juice. Only this apple juice.
only this apple.
I would need a larger bottle if that were the case.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Hope you guys are enjoying. Hope you've enjoyed this this special edition of ITG. These are our no huddles. Again, make sure you're rocking and rolling with us all over social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. In the Gun Podcast. Get involved with our polls on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube so you can see Owen, his apple juice, and his beautiful couch, and his sweater, and his glasses. And I mean, I tell you what. Jeez Louise. We got to get People Magazine over there, because the world's sexiest man, that's a wrap for next year. For Owen Schmitt, the professor and the runaway beer truck, and, of course, the signal caller, Jed Drenning, Jedgar Allan Poe. We all go horns down this week, every week, but especially this week. We'll talk to you guys again here soon for our full WVU and Texas breakdown. You've been in the gun. Horns